Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And we have a very special guest, Connie Nielsen, whose new show, Close to Me, is premiering on Sundance next month. Connie, thank you for being our guest. How are you doing tonight?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. And just like we were talking about before we went live, I've been lucky to get a sneak peek at your new show called Close to Me, which is premiering on Sundance. And it's a fascinating show with a great concept. So you play the character of Joe, who basically the show starts off with Joe falling downstairs and losing part of her memory. So tell us, how did the part come your way?
They sent it to me and asked if I was interested, and I read it and I was like, yes, I am interested. This is amazing.
And now it's labeled as a mini series, so are we to assume that this is a one season only show?
That's right. It's a
Oh,
one-off. It's basically what I love the most about streaming right now is the ability to tell long stories, like stories that really get, allow you to really tell the story right. You're not locked inside of an hour and a half and, you have to be done by then. But on the
absolutely.
other hand, you don't have to invent more and more crazy scenarios in order to, keep entertaining people. I really love this format so much.
That's excellent. And this is, like we said, such a great show. Joe is such a fascinating character. Just imagine having an accident and not having total amnesia, but just a portion, the last year of your life, completely wiped away. What kind of special preparation did you do to get into the character of Joe?
I really, first of all, read up on brain injury. The fact is that with a brain injury, you often see that people lose their filter. They kind of become just in disinhibited.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be sure that, of course, we were going to, show that with a great sense of humor. And so, we definitely have fun with the fact that she has lost her filter and says things that normally people don't say to their husbands or to their kids. But actually, this brutal kind of honesty also, reveals things about her and about the relationships that she's in, and also about us as people. We often, try to shield each other from the brutal, honest truth. But the thing about unfiltered people is they say things like they are without any
Exactly. And can I tell
regard.
you one of my favorite lines from the pilot, from the first episode, is the skinny jeans line. I love that line. People will understand when they see it, but I'm like, how realistic is that? Here you are trying to get dressed to leave the hospital, and your husband brings you skinny jeans, and you're all pissed off about that. Was that just part of the writing that really attracted you to this project?
Yeah, it's the fact that you really believe that this person is real. I feel that so many female characters, they always try to please the audience. They're like, oh, they're cute, and or they are sort of apologetic for themselves, or they're like manly, or whatever these things that we allow women to be. But if we really, really play what women really are, it's way more fun, and
Yeah.
it's also just more interesting.
And the way that this show is shot with the cinematography and the images, for example, when Joe is being wheeled into the hospital and the surroundings, it's not that of a hospital. It's like you're walking into a ballroom. Beautiful imagery that is brought to us. What are your feelings to that aspect of this show?
Everything in Close to Me is there for a reason. Every single thing is a clue
It
to this
is.
mystery at the core of Joe's life.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that it's a mystery that has many different facets. And that kind of mystery also reveals things that, happen in real people's lives all the time.
Mm-hmm.
the fact that people get told the story of who they are already from when they're little kids. And figuring out how to deconstruct that story to find out the truth about who you really are and allow you to express the truth of that and be that's a strength, first of all.
It
Is really, really important. And instead, I think a lot of people, if they really were to take a look at what they've been told about who they are, they've been gaslit, and in a way they're helping gaslight themselves and keeping themselves stuck in a story that might not even be true.
Absolutely. And we see right away that Jo is a very determined, strong-willed character. And you could see that when she gets home, she's not just satisfied laying in bed and recovering. What does she do? She sets up a chalkboard and tries and is going to reconstruct the missing time in her life. That's the determination that your character has and the strength that she has and the possible horrors that she may uncover. Did you tap into anything special to reach that strong, determined woman that we see in Jo?
I think that was one of those really powerful scenes that I read right away when I read the scripts. And it was this idea that this woman comes home from the hospital and she doesn't make a blackboard and like with little, with little needles or things like that. No, she actually takes a marker and draws smack on the wall of the living room, of the dining room.
Yeah.
And it's that level of unfilteredness, but that, as you said, that also betrays and reveals like a person who has like incredible strength.
Yeah.
And and I think she shocks everyone around her with her determination to understand what is the truth lurking behind all of these lies that I'm surrounded by. And that was really where I took the key to who she is a lot.
And the interaction between you and Christopher, who plays Rob, your husband, you guys have a great dynamic and chemistry together. How was it when you met Christopher and you guys hit it off right away? Was the chemistry there, and did it bring itself onto the screen as well?
Yeah, and I think well, first of all, I don't know how many of you have seen his work, but he is just such a talented actor.
He is.
And so I was so delighted that we were going to have Chris on the show. And at the same time, it's such a voyage that we take together, and it's an uncomfortable voyage. It's a difficult voyage that we went through together. It was, it also took a lot of stamina and to really see also the fact that, one thing we should really mention, we shot this in the middle of COVID. And so we were either on set or in quarantine at home. That was it, and it was just a really, really hard and incredible journey that we went on with those two characters.
It is, because I've heard many actors say before COVID, after a day's shoot, you guys would go have dinner together, and there was an extra way to bond. And shooting during COVID, even now, we're still in the middle of COVID, that's been taken away from you guys, and it makes it that much harder to bond.
Absolutely. But, at the same time, the hardship kind of bonds people as well, And I think the most important thing that we were looking at was looking out for each other, just making sure that everybody was safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the series is based off Amanda Reynolds' book by the same name. When you booked the part, did you read the novel? Have you read the novel yet? Or did you not want the novel to influence you?
That's right. For me, I've seen many times that you read a book and then you get upset with the stuff you can't bring into the series or into the movie. And so I found that it's better not to read the book and to focus on what is the shape of the story that we're putting into the screen, because onto the screen. The media, book and the film will use different rhythms and different sort of conventions for telling a story. And so I think it's really important to just focus on the filmed version of this story, because we will tell the same story but in different ways.
Absolutely. And I just had a writer on the other day, and, she brilliantly explained how words jumping off a page is completely different than the image we see on the screen. Now, what I was surprised when I sat down to watch this and I was watching the opening credits, you're an executive producer on this. So what did your roles actually include as executive producer on this show?
It was really overseeing the all of the edits and the shape that the story was taking, making sure that some of the values and aspects of the story that were important for me to tell were staying on the page. A lot of people, well, I should say society at large, I think around the world, kind of tries to ignore menopause. It's as if like that just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, because basically the biggest group of people on the planet are going through or have just gone through a menopause. And we really, really have to help each other create more of a conversation about what that means for families, for women, and for the people who love them. How can they best support them? What is it that is? What is this mysterious thing? You will not believe how little information you have as a woman when you go into this thing. It's shocking. And even doctors lack words to really describe what it is you're going through. So it was very important to me that this seriously important passage, which is sort of like a coming of age, it's like a second coming of age, that we really explain what that is, and also that we show that what's incredible is that, as a woman, you've spent your whole life taking care of other people. You have, taking care of your kids, your husband, your job, and then there is this moment all of a sudden where after this thing, it becomes about you.
Yeah.
And that's a really important moment, and it can be hugely empowering. And that's also what Close to Me is about. It's what does that empowerment also do to Jo and her community?
Exactly. And just like Jo, if you look at your career, you have a really great resume of portraying these really powerful women. Is that just something that has been given is not the right word, but your acting skills make you appropriate for, and you've gotten all these amazing strong women what do you attribute that to? The queen of the Amazons and so on.
I'm not sure. I obviously am, just as sensitive and vulnerable as the next person. But I do think that I am maybe inherently, in addition to that, also able to be a warrior. Like, I would say that I have these two sides to me, where I'm extremely sensitive and intuitive and love working with my imagination. And then there is another side to me, which I think is just a warrior. And
Yeah.
I just think that thing just comes natural to me. And so I don't so much, play it as much as I just tap into that in me.
That's very fair. Now, I remember the first time I saw you on the screen was in The Devil's Advocate. Okay. And again, a powerful woman. You played opposite of Al Pacino. You have worked with some of the greatest actors throughout your career. Do you take every film that you've done, and even still today, learn something new that you just carry on to the next project?
Yeah, I think so. I think everything is about learning. You learn so much every time. Um, it would be boring if you didn't like learn something new uh, from what you're doing. I love my work because I learn something about the world or about myself or all of the above, with every project, every story I tell.
Now, Close to Me dives into the psychological thriller realm pretty quickly. That's not your, like, if you look through your long resume, there has not been that much. What did you think of taking a role in this genre of the psychological thriller into the horror realm as well?
I just, these are things are just, it's not like you set out to say, oh, I'm going to make this kind of film or that kind of film. You know what you are attracted to, and you just end up going for that. And in this case too, it was the case of a really great story and really, really well done, like really well conceived
Mm-hmm.
as an idea. And so that's really what drives it. It's not really a genre like, oh, I prefer this or that. But it's true that some people like end up like doing a lot of romantic comedies because that really suits their personality, you
Yeah.
know?
Now, when it came to this role in particular, what was it that sealed the deal for you? Was it just the writing? Was it the character of Joe? Was it the story arc itself from the beginning to the end? What made you say, wow, this is an amazing story and I'm definitely want to be a part of this?
I think I think there are certain things that happen in the story that I'm interested in showing. I'm interested in showing violence in our society that it's just such everyday violence. A lie is a violence as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in Joe's case, it turns out that there is a background of violence that you just don't expect. And I wanted to kind of point the point the finger at this problem and say, why is it that we as a society still accept this? And how much of this kind of violence is encapsulated into like changed memories
Mm-hmm.
and that then is sold back to us, and then that we carry like this undigested and undiagnosed truth, or I shouldn't say diagnosed truth, but this undigested truth that then therefore is this lie all the time.
Yep. Now, have you ever thought of the aspect like Joe's accident in the very, very beginning of the series and the amnesia that followed was her way of her brain of dealing with the trauma in her life?
Absolutely, but maybe it was also a way of forcing her into discovering even deeper truths.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Never really thought of it that way. Now, the series features some of the less glamorous aspects. I like the commentary that this show takes on, like abuse within a marriage and whatnot, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and it really dives deep. And with each episode, it peels back a layer and another layer and another. Do you like that way of storytelling?
I do, because I think many times that's how we ourselves even think.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to a little bit like circle around the truth and take a little bit of it here and a little bit of it there. We just peel back the layers little by little.
Mm-hmm.
What's so interesting is that when Joe does lose her memory and she gets this brain injury, it helps her peel away because she's not trying to be polite anymore.
No.
She's not trying to be the little good girl who does what everyone expects her to do. She is um, she is she's like her own raw self. And I loved the opportunity to show, like in a very raw way, like a real woman, a real woman.
Now, is that also part of the foundation? Because we see Joe go into some dark places. We're not going to reveal any spoilers here, but you know, you put everything on the table when you get in front of that camera. At the end of the shooting day, and shooting some of the darker aspects of your character, what do you do to separate yourself, at least for the day, from your character and go back to being Connie?
I have to tell you, like there was like a moment. I mean, I had the longest days you cannot imagine, but literally, like that glass of wine when I came back to the house was like that was my. I was like cramped, trying to get to drink that glass of wine just to, relax. I think if I'd been in California, I would have smoked, weed or something. It was just so, it was so much all the time. We show a woman in lust, a woman in like who's going through hurt and who is confused and desperate. Like it was a lot, and like at the end of the day, I was just okay. I'm going to be arriving home, and I'm going to have that glass of wine, and it was really just. I swear it was that like the thought that I was going to have that glass of wine and I would sit and relax with that. That was my thing.
And that would get you through the day.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
was actually like how interesting the scenes were.
absolutely.
Like they were so interesting. It was so like I was looking forward to going into those scenes every day.
Yeah. And the directing on this show is top notch. I got to ask you, I didn't really pay attention as I was watching it. Did you have the same director throughout all the episodes, or were there different? There was one director.
Yeah.
Wow. You don't.
It was important because we go through so many levels of time. We go through in Joe's entire life, but we also have a pre-fall Joe and a post-fall Joe. We also have a Joe from the amnesia time.
Yeah.
And those are different Joes. And so we needed to have someone who really could keep a hold of all of these Joes.
And that was important, why to keep the same director for every episode and not lose that aspect. Now, were you satisfied with how the story that we're going to see on TV, how they wrapped it up come the finale?
Yeah. I think that the finale is appropriate to this story.
Now, since you've done it, now you said you didn't read the book before or during. Have you read it after?
No, because then I was done. Like I was done with that character, and then I needed to take some time off. But I also went into a very demanding other character that I was working on also as an executive producer, and then shot up until 3 weeks ago. And so I've been like just really deep in this other character.
So how would you explain the differences shooting this multi-part episodic limited series as opposed to doing a movie? Okay, you've done some really high budget films. Okay, what is the difference experience doing this multi-part series as opposed to the DC movies, whether it's Wonder Woman or Justice League? Explain to us what some of the biggest differences are.
I mean, obviously, a story like this one is very intimate. It's it's so intimate. You're inside of Joe's head. Like that kind of deep, deep intimacy is the point of a story like this. Whereas the point of the big movie like that is a spectacle. It's creating something that your eyes and mind can feast on.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing these incredible sets and incredible costumes and using like your imagination almost, to have fun. Because, when I do Justice League and Wonder Woman, I have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I'm a kid. I get to sword fight. I get to jump on and off galloping horses. I get to like run up walls and come down and spear a demon at the same time. I mean, that's just so much fun.
I can imagine.
And then the other thing, like, though, when you go into these small, intimate and psychological, tense stories, then you really get to explore a character and go very deep, and that too is extraordinary, both to watch and to work on.
Oh man, that sounds like so much fun. Just having the spectrum that you've had, like you said, the Queen of the Amazons down to the deep character storytelling that we see in Close to Me. Connie, we're out of time. I want to thank you so much. For the people out there, the show is called Close to Me. It's premiering on Sundance. Is it December 6th?
That is a question for my producer.
Yeah, I just read it earlier. I think it's releasing December 6th on Sundance. It's a multi-part episode, limited series, one season only. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. There's great character storytelling. There's definitely thriller, suspense, horror aspect. It has a little bit of everything. Connie, thank you so much. Any final thoughts you want to share before we go?
No, thank you so much. You're a great interviewer. It was a real pleasure talking to you, and great questions too. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Connie. Thank you to our audience. And on behalf of Connie and myself, guys, stay safe. Oh, and my producer just chimed in. It's releasing December 16th.
16th.
Okay, December 16th. On behalf of Connie and myself, guys, stay safe and stay walking. Bye-bye.
Thanks.